Welcome to Mental Health Monday. I am so excited to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects. Mental Health Monday is where we give you the tools to get to the top of your mental health game personally and professionally. I am your host, Kanae Quarter, National Certified Counselor and the world's number one financial hypnotherapist specializing in corporate therapy. Today, we're going to talk about what we're talking about in our community right now. And that is, we are discussing the benefits of therapy, but particularly when you are using Tame Your Brain Therapy. And Tame Your Brain Therapy is the therapy that I created by blending existential talk therapy, by blending hypnotherapy and financial therapy together. So I took those three that I specialized in, brought them together, used all of my background, all of my 30 years of experience, poured it into one therapy to give you a healing modality that allows faster, longer lasting results. Now, therapy is not known for long lasting results, first of all, or is it at all fast? Most people are in therapy for 2 or 3 years, and it's a hefty investment time, money, energy. I think that investment is absolutely worth it because when you are healed, life is just so much better. I'm telling you, you think that because of homeostasis, and you've probably heard me talk about this in other videos, but because your brain goes towards familiar, you believe that this familiar feeling, even though it doesn't feel good, is the feeling that you have to have. That's just as good as it gets. This is your life, but it's not. You really, you truly, I want to say, you can truly heal, feel calm, feel peaceful, feel relaxed. We polled some business leaders, and, and out of the 100 business leaders that we polled, the biggest emotion was fear. Now, we've talked about this in the past, the loneliness, the fear, the anxiety, fear, worry, they all kind of go together. The imposter syndrome still goes together. That's fear that you're not enough, but you don't have to feel that way. And if you're a leader listening to this, and when I say leader, may not be your company, but you're a leader in the company, just imagine if you feel this way as a leader, imagine how your support or your contributing team feels. Even more fearful, even more anxious, even more lonely. Yeah, they say it's lonely at the top, but it's kind of lonely in the middle and even at the bottom too sometimes. Because who do you talk to? Well, you talk to your therapist, more specifically, your Tame Your Brain therapist. And let me tell you what happens in Tame Your Brain therapy. May not happen in all therapies, but I want to give you this framework, these talking points, so that when you're deciding, do I want therapy? Is therapy right for me? Will it help me? Are you asking these questions? Yeah. And if you're specifically looking for a corporate therapy program, a program that you can bring into your company where it helps the leaders as well as the contributing team clear all of that stuff that is keeping them from getting to the bigger picture, the big vision, because there is a bottom line that has to be met in order for every single one of you to continue, for the leader to continue, for the support team to continue, and everybody in the middle, even to continue. That bottom line has to be met. But you're always missing a piece if you're not getting it fast enough, if you're not getting it efficient enough, if you're not getting it calm and peaceful enough. Now, I'm clicking my fingers because that is something we do in Tame Your Brain therapy because it really drives home to the brain what's important. So, let's start with the feelings. That is a big reason why people don't want to go to therapy, is because they don't want to talk about their feelings. Are you that person that like doesn't really want to talk about your feelings? Well, the great thing about Tame Your Brain therapy, it doesn't require you to talk a lot about your feelings. What it does require though is for you to get awareness of your negative feelings. Like, what are you feeling that you don't want to feel? And you name it, like we did earlier: fear, anxiety, um, maybe it's worry, you name it. What is that feeling? And then after you name that feeling, we're going to then search for the positive feeling. What do you really want to feel? And then after you feel that, you get familiar with that. You want to focus on that positive feeling to make that feeling more familiar. Because remember, in this video and in other videos, we've said that the brain likes homeostasis. It likes to go towards what is familiar. So, what if you made the positive feeling familiar? Because right now it is not. And you don't have to talk a lot about what makes you feel negative. You just have to know that it is. You just have to notice or become aware. That is the feeling that you're going to talk about. So you don't have to talk a lot about, I don't know, what's bothering you, let's just say, because you may not want to. Well, that's okay because it's not necessary. And what else is not necessarily important is insight. You don't have to know why. A lot of times people come to therapy because they want to know why, but that isn't even important to healing. You can know why if you want to know why, but that's not what's going to help you heal. So sometimes wanting to know why is just stuff, it's just information, but it isn't what's going to help you heal. You don't have to worry about that and tame your brain. And you don't have to worry about judging or controlling your thoughts. A lot of times you go to therapy and they want to help you control your thoughts. Well, therapist, this is for you. We don't control our thoughts. Our thoughts are like our blood in our veins, right? It just your blood just pumps through your veins and there's nothing you can do about it. Your thoughts are the same way. Now, what you can do about the blood pumping through your brain is you can control your breath, which would then slow down your heart rate. And as you slow down your heart rate, that slows down the blood pumping through your veins. Well, you'll learn techniques to teach you how to do that, but also how to slow down the thoughts because the thoughts are going to come, but you can slow them down. And whether you chase them down that rabbit hole of negativity, you'll learn how to control that and tame your brain therapy because that is what gets you in trouble. It's not that you have the negative thought, it's that you hold on to the negative thought. But what if you could let go of the negative thought? And then as more positive thoughts come in, you can hold on to those. Well, we'll teach you how to do that and tame your brain therapy. You no longer have to suppress your feelings. We talked about that in one of our very early videos back in the beginning of January 2022, depending upon when you're watching this video. You can go back and look at the one on resistance. And we talk about how people are often, and also the one on your emotions, you're controlling your emotions. People are often suppressing their emotions and they think that that is controlling them by stuffing them or pushing them down. Well, I'm saying go ahead and feel them, but quickly feel it, name it, let it go. Feel it, name it, let it go. Do I want to feel this feeling? No, I do not. Okay, let it pass. Let's get the next feeling. Nope. Nope. Almost like you see, like when you're going through television, you want to watch this program? Nope, didn't do anything for me. Nope, not that one either. Nope, nope. That is what you're doing with your thoughts. So, this is how we get to understand our positive and negative feelings because it's not about thinking positive, it is about feeling positive. And in Tame Your Brain Therapy, you learn how to do that, which is not necessarily true about all of the healing modalities. Some of the healing modalities are focused on negative, how you don't want to feel. And so if you could shift that, because what you focus on expands, if you could shift that, then you can feel good more often. And that is what Tame Your Brain Therapy is all about feeling good. Now, another reason people don't want to go to therapy is because they don't want to talk about their past. You don't have to do a lot of talking about your past. We are going to bring up your past. And the reason why we bring up your past is for that awareness that we talked about. We also want to bring it up so that we can address where those negative feelings started. The only reason to address the past is to clarify the negative feeling and create the contrast so that you can get to the positive feeling. When you go back and feel that negative feeling, then you name it. And if you name it, then you can tame it. And then you can say, well, if I don't want to feel this, what do I want to feel? And that gives you that contrast to feel the positive feeling. And the other reason to go back to the past is to clear it. You don't really want to feel that feeling. So, why do you need to be familiar with it? You need to clear it so it becomes unfamiliar. And this new feeling, this positive feeling, becomes familiar. Clear the past from your subconscious brain, which is what we work on most in Tame Your Brain therapy. We're not working on conscious brain, which a lot of therapy and a lot of healing modalities, even going to the doctor, is very conscious brain. But in your conscious brain, you know better. You know not to eat that food, but you eat it anyway because in your subconscious brain, that food is associated with love and comfort and mommy's love and grandma's love, right? So you eat those cookies, even though those cookies are not good for you right now anymore. Yeah. But when grandma gave you the cookie because you had a boo-boo and it made you feel better. And now you have a boo-boo on your heart. You want cookies instead of an apple because it is associated with comfort and happiness. What if we could shift that using your subconscious brain to make the healthier food more comforting and relaxing and loving? That's what Tame Your Brain therapy is all about. And some people will say, well, I don't want to let go of those memories. And those memories are me. Are they though? You know how they say you are what you eat, right? But you don't remember everything you've ever eaten in your life, do you? And the thing you do remember is that one thing that was like really, really, really good. And then you remember the thing that was really, really, really bad, right? Or it caused you to get sick because there is an emotion associated with that memory. If there is a emotion, a strong emotion associated with that memory, it will stick. But if we remove that strong emotion, it will fade away, just like the breakfast you had 3 weeks ago. If you eat breakfast, maybe it was the lunch. If you think about what lunch you had 6 weeks ago, you don't remember it, but you are what you eat. So why do you have to remember that? Yes, your memories make up your life, but they don't make up who you are. They make up the stories that you think make up who you are. But what if I told you that some of those stories are holding you back from actually being your true authentic self? So you don't even know yourself anymore, or maybe you never even met yourself. So you're clearing the past from your subconscious. Like, I know you don't want to lose yourself, but let me tell you this little story. So I love Asian food, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Thai, you name it, I love it. So I one time went to this Chinese restaurant and I got really sick after eating it. Now, I'm not even 100% sure if the Chinese food was what made me sick, but the whole next day I was sick, like really sick the whole next day. And so I don't even ever want to go to that Chinese food place anymore or even eat that Chinese food dish anymore because as my brain associates it with getting sick. But if I would do Tame Your Brain on that particular subject, let's say, and clear that, then it wouldn't matter. I can go to any Chinese food restaurant because let's think about it. I just told you I love Asian food, right? I've been to thousands probably Chinese food restaurants in my life. I guess that's a bit of exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. A lot of Chinese restaurants in my life. Why does that one stick out? Because there was a really strong emotion that went along with it. But if I let go of that emotion of getting sick after eating that dish from that particular place, then it won't matter anymore. Now, some of you are saying, well, what if that was the place that got you sick and you don't want to go back there anymore? Maybe, maybe not. But I can't live my life based on one example when there's all of this data out there about all of the amazing Asian restaurants, specifically Chinese restaurants that I've gone to that I super enjoyed. Now, I do have records of some of those that I super enjoyed, right? Then all the ones in the middle, they were just like, oh, that was just like the other. It was just like what I wanted it to be. Nothing amazing, nothing awful. They just fade away in the background. Well, a lot of your memories can do that. And what if you took those memories that cause you pain and turned them into faded in the background memories? That would allow you to move through life not judging yourself or others and stopping and getting blocked. That's what Tame Your Brain therapy is all about. And that's the benefit of therapy if you let it be. That rhymed. That's the benefit of therapy if you let it be. I'm not even sure if that's grammatically correct, but it doesn't matter because it rhymes. And everybody knows in any hip hop song, the words don't have to be correct as long as it rhymes. Okay, I got off on a tangent. Let's go back to Tame Your Brain therapy. So you're finding your inner child. That's why you go back to your past. That is the only reason you want to go back, find your inner child, rescue that inner child from all of those things that happen. Now, you could have had a wonderful childhood, but there's still some things that happen in your childhood that your inner child interpreted as unfair or whatever. And so that's the 0 to 7 that we talk about in Tame Your Brain therapy. And from 0 to 7, you made some observations and you turned those observations into interpretations. And they don't necessarily pan out as the years go on. And so you collect all of this data and you are now comparing it to the hypothesis you made at 6 years old that is now outdated, but you don't know how to change it. And so you have this is the next part of why our therapy is so good. And therapy overall is so good is existential crisis. Most of us are going to hit an existential crisis in our life. Some of us several, like me. I've had many. I'll tell you stories later. But there's this duality in life that comes up when you're about a teenager. You start to realize this duality. Before that, you don't really notice it. But right around teenage years, you do. And most of us are forced to ignore those dualities. We have this freedom, responsibility, right? And so our parents want to give us this responsibility. We want all this freedom. We don't know how much of each one we're supposed to have. And so we create this conflict in our lives. And then, there's so many dualities. You can think of some right now that you're fighting against. You want to be an individual, but you also want to fit in. You felt that before? Yeah. So that's the existential crisis. And then from that existential crisis, what then happens is that you realize that you have been listening to an outside voice and you don't know it. But your parents did it. They didn't know they were doing it when they said, do as I say. And so all of these years, they told you what to do from 0 to 7. And then from 7 to 14, they kept pouring into you what to do, what to do, what to do. But I'm telling you, right around 12 years old, you stopped listening to your parents. By the time you were 14, they were like, ugh, whatever they said was like irritating to you. By the time you were 16, you were wanting to close your ears every time they talked. By the time you were 19, you basically wanted to choke them. I mean, it's true. 19-year-olds, I'm telling the truth. Therapists, I'm telling the truth, especially if you work with 19-year-olds, that they barely can even tolerate the air that comes out of their parents' mouth, right? Not that they don't love them, but at this point, it's that outside voice that's irritating you because you're trying to hear your inside voice, but you didn't get permission to do that. At a very young age, you were told to cut that inside voice off, listen to the outside voice. Well, that outside voice is not always going to be the parents anymore. In fact, right around 12 years old, it's going to end up being your friends. And then it's going to end up being maybe teachers, maybe not, because they're also adults and they remind you of your parents. It might end up being the media or some celebrity or the government or you name it. It's the outside voice. And as we grow and get older, we've continued to listen to that outside voice. And that existential crisis is when we're saying, whoa, I don't like this outside voice. I am trying to hear my inside voice, but the outside voice is so loud and I can't get it to quiet down. Well, therapy, specifically Tame Your Brain therapy, helps you to make that inside voice louder and that outside voice more quiet. Yes. So it goes away. And your inside voice is saying, oh my gosh, I love me. I didn't even know I had this in me. right? You start to discover yourself. Like these paintings that I painted, discovered myself. Had no idea I could do that because I just did it. And my parents didn't even know I could do it, but I did. And there's so many things throughout my life that I've discovered and discovered and discovered about myself, but I had permission to. I got permission at a very early age to just explore, and it's okay. My sister knew exactly what she wanted to do when she grew up. She knew that at like 12 years old. My older sister, my younger sister knew exactly what she wanted to do, both of them. But both of them are now changing professions after doing it for many, many years. I took a new career every 5 or 6 years. Sometimes I went longer, maybe 12 years. But let's just say, and now you're wondering how old I am, and you see all this gray, and I'm just telling you, you won't be able to guess because there's a lot of contrast going on here. But I can tell you later when I do my Q&A video. But let's just focus on you right now because you are trying to decide if therapy is right for you. And maybe you're trying to decide if Tame Your Brain therapy is right for you and your company and you want to bring it in. I'm telling you, you can get paid for being yourself once you go through therapy, especially Tame Your Brain therapy, because you will have a conviction, a confidence, a level of oneness with yourself that you wouldn't have when you're hurt. When you're hurt, you are trying to become other people. You are trying to do what will give you love and acceptance. You are trying to soothe yourself. But when you go through therapy, you no longer have to soothe yourself. You live soothed. Like the life you have soothes you. Doesn't that what would that be like if your life could be soothing? Yeah. So you don't have to talk yourself out of or judge yourself for the changes that come in life. That's why we have Tame Your Brain for Change, because you're going to go through transitions in life like I did, like my sisters did. You're going to experience transitions like my brother did. I didn't even name him. He did the same thing. But and when you go through those transitions, it's okay. But you were taught that it was not okay. You can't quit. You got to do the same thing. Well, I'm going to tell you how to shift the language, right? Because you were taught not to quit. You can learn how to shift, right? That's different from not quitting. You can learn how to stop. I'm going to stop doing this and start doing that. That's different language. All you have to do is change your language. But you can't teach yourself French, right? You have to get a program or you have to go to somebody who knows French to learn it. You don't have the language. Don't judge yourself. So you have learned that bad news is how you get love and attention and connection. And you don't know any. So when people say, well, how are you? The first thing you want to do is tell them how bad things are because that's what you were taught to do. But what if I told you that you don't have to do that? And therapy helps you determine what's going well. Tame Your Brain therapy, the basis of Tame Your Brain therapy are on what's going well. And then multiplying or expanding that by feeling positive, connecting to the positive feeling, expanding that, and shrinking the negative feeling. But you don't have the tools to do that right now, not at home, not at work. And so you're constantly getting triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered. And without any tools, last week we talked about meditation and having a morning routine. If you don't have that in your life, or having a routine in your day, I should say, so you can control the day. If you don't have control over your day, you're going to be triggered and triggered and triggered, and you'll need to learn how to come back to calm, optimal brain. Come back to calm, optimal brain. Come back to calm, optimal brain. But if you haven't been trained, you won't go back to calm, optimal brain. You'll go back to trigger brain, trigger brain, trigger brain. And that you don't have control over. Other people control you. Do you want to control yourself, or do you want to leave your emotions and your feelings in the control of others, your coworkers, your manager, your workload, that email that just came in? No, you want control. And that's why, different from other therapies, Tame Your Brain therapy does have fast, long lasting results. So you don't have to talk about your feelings a lot. You don't have to talk about your feelings for 2 or 3 years. And bigger than that, you don't have to feel negatively. You can go to the positive very quickly. You do have to get those negative feelings out, but you can go to the positive very quickly. So, overcoming resistance is a big part of Tame Your Brain therapy, because in therapy, if you don't have a therapeutic relationship that flows, that connects, that allows you to trust the person you're talking to, and for those are different reasons. For sometimes we need a therapist that looks like us. Sometimes we need a therapist that's opposite of us. I work with men a lot. I've worked with men in my practice. I worked with teenagers in my practice, and I found that when I was working with men, it worked really well because there was no competition. They weren't competing with me as therapists. They didn't care if I judged them or not. Specifically, when I worked with white males, there was even less of that because they didn't care if I loved and accepted them. They just wanted to feel better. If you can get me to feel better, let's do it, doc. That's what they used to say. And so, um, that's what's important. It might be important to you to look like your therapist. It might be important to you to look opposite of your therapist. It might be important to you that your therapist know a certain amount or not know a certain amount. I was an outsider in the community that I worked in. I didn't live in the community. And so some people liked that I didn't live in the community because that made me an outsider. So there may be different reasons why you choose the therapist you choose. In Tame Your Brain Therapy, we match our therapists with our corporate offices. When we have a corporate client and we put a therapist in their office, we are matching them by asking them what's important. And you don't always know that you can do that. You probably picked the therapist that went with your insurance, right? Or you picked the therapist that your friend refers you to. And that may or may not work, but there are different ways that you can find the therapist that is right for you, because overcoming resistance is a really big part of the therapeutic process. And Tame Your Brain allows you to do that, one, because you don't have to talk about your feelings so much, two, because you do focus on the positive and it feels good going through it. So you don't have as much resistance. And this allows you to heal faster. The healing happens faster when the resistance isn't there because you are taught and allowed to listen to your inside voice. I close my eyes when I say inside voice because sometimes that is the easiest way to listen to that inside voice is to just close your eyes and be with yourself, be inside rather than outside. You're so focused on what's happening outside, but it doesn't even matter what's happening in the outside world. What really truly matters is what's happening inside of you, and that's what you have control over. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to give you, depending upon when you're listening to this video, if you're listening live, I say in a couple of weeks, probably like 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to talk about control the controllable. And I'm going to give you every single step. It's 10 steps in control the controllable, what you need to know in order to control your life and yourself. But right now, we're talking about why therapy might be important to you, how you can benefit from going through therapy, because you might be resistant, but you don't have to be, because we're going to get to the root of it. And that's another reason why people don't always like therapy, is because it seems like you just have to keep going back and going back and going back and going back. And there's like this codependent relationship. But Tame Your Brain therapy is not codependent. And even to your doctor, right? You sometimes feel codependent on your doctor. You got to keep going back there to get that prescription. But what if you could heal the thing that was causing? Because what you don't realize, and I talked about this in the last the four videos about the feelings that you feel most often, that conscious leaders feel more often, those have physical ailments that go along with them. Those physical illnesses that go along with those physical illnesses that go along with the emotions, you don't even know are connected. You have no idea that if you heal your, let's just say, your people pleasing, that something in your body is also going to heal. Maybe you feel tension in your neck, and then you heal your emotions, and then that tension in your neck is gone. That's what happened to me when I got out of my stressful job and made that shift from finance to therapy to become a therapist. I was going to the chiropractor 2 or 3 times a week, just trying to get untangled, and it wasn't working. And then I got a job that I get to be myself, and I love. When I say I got a job, I created a business, but You don't have to create a business. You can still work a job. Everybody believes that you have to leave your job in order to lose your stress, but it isn't true because in our company, it is all about feeling good. And the conscious there and the conscious leaders that we work with, they're building those kinds of companies too, where the workplace is not about stress. It is about peace. It is not about fear. It is about security and comfort and knowing that you can hit that bottom line, knowing that you know exactly what your manager expects from you, knowing that your manager knows that they can trust you because there is a lot of talk about that duality. There is a lot of that contrast happening in the workplace. And that's where we feel a lot of our stress. So I've talked a lot, but I want to just recap. What here is important is that you understand the benefits of therapy and knowing whether therapy is right for you. But I also want to give you some field work. And I know that's tiny writing, but I just want you to see it. Some people are visual, but overcome resistance is I want you to ask yourself a few questions in order to overcome this resistance and get to the root of your challenge. And if you're having that existential crisis, so that you can answer this existential crisis for yourself, but you don't have to. There is guidance out there. There are therapists, Tame Your Brain therapists that can come to you, that you can come to, that can be right there in your office if you want them to. So the questions I want you to ask yourself: when or where am I triggered most? For many people, that is at work. They're most triggered at work, or they're most triggered at the end of their day. Maybe you can handle the beginning of your day, but you gave so much of yourself away at work that you have nothing left and you're easily triggered by your family because it's just too much. So, what happens? The second question I want you to ask yourself is: what's happening or not happening in my life when I'm highly sensitive to being triggered? So, what's happening in your life when you're highly sensitive to being triggered? Are you not controlling your day? Do you not have something that's getting you back to calm, optimal brain state? Are you giving all of your control away? What is happening in your life? Do you see what I'm saying? These are questions that you need to ask, because if you don't have the answers to these, then there is going to be more discourse in your life and you won't find that peace. You'll have that fear, the anxiety, the worry, the overwhelm, the burnout, that imposter syndrome feeling because you can't hear the inside voice. So you're following the outside voice, but it doesn't feel like authentically you. Next question: would I benefit from having a part of my workday associated with improving my mental health? Absolutely, you would. Would I benefit from making mental health part of my workday? Now, how could you do that? Great question. You could talk with your HR, ask them to bring Tame Your Brain Therapy into your workplace. You could share our website with them. You could go to a therapist that focuses on Tame Your Brain Therapy, and they can give you some tools. Now, you can go to presidentiallifestyle.com, give that to your HR director or someone in your company that's higher up. If you are a conscious leader, then you go there, visit our website, see our programs. Also, you can go to presidentiallifestyle.com/train if you are a therapist and you want to know more about Tame Your Brain therapy. Now, or how to become a Tame Your Brain therapist. Now, this was a long video, so I thank you for listening all the way to the end. You did not have to do that, but that just says you are ready. Like on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, I'm not doing anything you just said in this video. I could care less about this video. I can't even believe I listened all the way to the end. 10 being, I'm so glad I listened all the way to the end. I am ready to take action. I want to feel better. I get why I need therapy. And I really want Tame Your Brain therapy of all the therapies that are out there. If that is where you are, or maybe you're not a 1, maybe you're not a 10, maybe you're somewhere in between. Just determine where you are If you're 6, 5, 4, I know that means you still need some to water that seed more. I might have just planted the seed, or maybe I'm watering the seed you have inside of you. But what if this seed was planted so long ago and has been watered, and this video just got you to bloom and it's time to harvest? Then you need to take action because it's all up to you. Most of what happened to you in your life wasn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to take action. What's happening in your workplace is not your fault. It's not your fault that your employees come to work with their baggage and their old stuff and their past, but it is your responsibility to clear that so that you guys can hit the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're in a couple, to clear that from that relationship. If you're a parent, clear that. If you are teaching your children the same thing that you were taught, the same old programming, and you wonder why they grow up and they don't want to listen to you because you're an outside voice, you can clear that. You can stop doing that. It's so many places where Tame Your Brain can change lives, but it starts with you. So, what are you going to do? You can go to our website if you're a leader and you want to bring Tame Your Brain into your office. You can go to our website if you're a therapist and you want to bring Tame Your Brain to your world. Maybe you already have a practice and you want to make sure that your practice adds Tame Your Brain so you get those fast, long-lasting results. Maybe you are a person and you feel like you don't have any power, but maybe you can find a Tame Your Brain therapist, or maybe you can just give this website to your leader, especially if your leader is conscious or wanting to become conscious and you don't know. Your leader could be having an existential midlife crisis right now, like Carnegie did when he opened the Carnegie halls and libraries and all of the things that he needed to do in order to heal from all the stuff that had happened in his past. So what will you do? Take action now. It is your time, and I am here with you. You are not alone. No more fear, no more worry, no more anxiety. It's time to feel peace. It's time to feel relaxed. It's time to find your calm, optimal brain state so you can live the life that you want to live personally and professionally. Let's go. Get to the top of your game. Take the action. I'm here with you. And so are the Tame Your Brain therapists that I have trained. So glad you listened all the way to the end of this video. So glad that I don't even know how to say goodbye. Can you tell? Okay. I'm just going to say it. Thank you for being here.